This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in
universe is untraveled, and we're definitely going to be traveling to a very weird place because usually we don't travel in the present in another universe. But for the first time, we are doing that tonight. Welcome to the April edition of Through the Looking Glass. I am your co-host, Scott Criscuolo. Joining me, the Thunderer from Down Under. We're in a weird time here, Mr. Dave Hall, because usually we like to make fun of each other's weather. But this is like the time of the year where we both might be kind of have the same weather. This is almost like the overlap. Because in about 3 months, it'll be 95 here and 55 and 45 there. So this is almost like the overlap where our weather is kind of almost the same. How you doing?
Yeah, pretty mild. I'm doing well. Yeah, it's been pretty mild down here. A little bit unseasonally. Like we've still been holding some warmer temperatures, but it's cooler at night. So yeah, it's that mild temperatures that are probably a pretty fair crossover. So no, I'm doing well. It's April. It's a weird time because we're in the build up to WrestleMania in 2025. But it just, you see all the Facebook posts are all post WrestleMania memories now. So it's a weird sort of feeling. It's just this late time of WrestleMania it's a weird sort of feeling to it.
It is very strange to be this late. This is the latest Mania ever, obviously coming up this coming Saturday and Sunday, 19th and 20th, Easter weekend. I know the earliest WrestleMania I was at, which was WrestleMania 20, which was on March 14th. That was definitely the earliest Mania that I could ever think of. But I can't think of a Mania this late. I mean, I can't remember a Mania where we hit double digits in April. I mean, we've had some April 7th. Actually, we're doing an April 7th tonight, actually. I mean, I don't know about an April, 10th, I don't think. Maybe an April 8th, I guess. I don't know. This might be the latest Mania, one of the ones we're doing tonight.
I think it is, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think there's been a Mania later than the 7th of April. So this is kind of wild. But in any event, thanks for joining us, everybody. Dave, always a pleasure. This is the first year in the history of our show where we're doing the WrestleMania episode in April for that reason. Usually we do it in March. But to go along with the schedule, this is probably going to be the way it's going to be from here on out. Hate to tell you. I think Mania is going to be in April.
I think they'll learn their lesson and try not to put it on Easter weekend again.
No, I think it's funny we bring that up. We've talked about this on Main Event the last couple of episodes. We talked about it this past week's episode too, and of course we'll probably chat about it on our WrestleMania weekend preview, which is actually, if you're listening to this on Wednesday as it drops, that will drop tomorrow. Where Steve Willie nerds out and gives us every indie show in Sin City from Tuesday. Some of the shows will have already happened, but that's okay. We wanted to make sure that we have the show out before the 4 big shows happening in the city, which is TNA Unbreakable on Thursday, of course, Stand and Deliver on Saturday afternoon, and of course the 2 nights Mania. So check that out. If you're listening to this on Wednesday, check it out. It'll drop tomorrow afternoon at noon Eastern time. Yeah, from what I've heard through the story, and I've said this a few times on shows, it was Vegas's idea to do it Easter weekend. It's obviously a holiday weekend for many people that are Christians and follow Easter. I know our Jewish listeners, Passover is happening as we speak, so I think Passover ends by the time. So I mean, I don't know if that really makes a difference, but I do think that it did take a hit. But this was Vegas's idea. See, one thing about Triple H. He's a family guy. He's not like Vince. Vince sold his whole family out to make sure Mania was on the prime weekend. Yeah. Triple H likes being with his daughters, and I think I think he wanted Easter weekend for his family. So I don't think he's overtly thrilled personally as a dad that Mania is this weekend, but apparently Vegas kind of held him over a rail, and they said, "You want Vegas this year? You need to come here Easter because we don't get good crowds because it's probably the number 2 big holiday in the calendar year after Christmas, probably." So I don't know. I to this moment think this was not WWE's idea. I think it was I think it was Vegas's idea. Next year, because Easter obviously rotates, next year in New Orleans, it's a week earlier, but Easter, I think, would have already happened by that point. So, in any event, I think that is causing some issues with. Now, I'm hoping, personally, Dave, that because they have knocked down prices, there's still combo tickets. Like when I first looked, I'm thinking, oh, there's probably some singles left. There were still combo packages left for both nights, and they were as cheap as I think $400, which is pretty good for both nights. That's $200 a piece. I'm praying that maybe WWE learns a lesson and we have the same inexpensive value deals for combos in August at MetLife when I go. So I'm praying that the combo tickets are about that cheap and not $1,200. But in any event, tonight on the show, we'll do what we always do every year, Mania weekend. We're going to rebook a few shows for you. We'll try to go at a brisk pace. We're going to book two classic shows, one show that definitely needs a rebook, one that probably does. Some of you may like it as is, but there could be some tweaking to make it better. And then for the first time in Through the Looking Glass history, we're actually going to go to an alternate universe in the present. I'll let Dave get into that later. But Dave, let's get us started. Where are we going first?
We're going way, way back. We're going to, and those people who've listened to our journey, our shows from the beginning will know this is my introduction to the world of professional wrestling. We're going all the way back to WrestleMania II. Yes, the WrestleMania that you have before you really had a WrestleMania. So we're going to have, I think this is a show that is just crying out for some rebooking, because while there's a couple of good matches on it, there's a lot of crap because we were still very much in the traditional style of WWF house show booking. A couple of big matches, but a lot of underneath storylines that weren't being played out in this event at this point. So I think this is a show that is crying out for a bit of a look, and I think we can significantly improve what was put forward. WrestleMania II, considered one of the worst WrestleManias in history. I think we can increase its potential in a very short period of time.
I agree. To give a little background, as most people know me, and I know you know me as well, obviously, Dave, this was the first sort of live wrestling show that I ever went to. The reason I say sort of is I started watching wrestling in 1983. And obviously my dad wanted to make sure that I actually liked wrestling before forking. My dad was an old Scott, rest in peace. My dad was an old school Italian. He wasn't going to fork over any cash unless he knew it was going to be worth something. So he wanted to wait a couple of years before he knew I actually liked wrestling before he would actually pay to go with me. And so, it took until WrestleMania 1. I mean, I did love wrestling in 84. I love watching Hogan win the title. The first thing that ever hooked me was the 83 house show when Snuka jumped off the cage on Morocco. But after WrestleMania 1, I realized how much I loved wrestling, and that was my thing for the rest of my life. So the following year, my dad bought, they were $20. Now, $20, Dave, in 1986 for a old school Italian like my dad was like, selling his car. So $20 to go to my beloved old dump that I love dearly, the New Haven Coliseum, to see WrestleMania 2 on closed circuit. Now, when you're 12,
before the advent of the pay-per-view,
in a general sense, there was some pay-per-view, like for instance, Dr. G, who grew up in Florida, he had it on pay-per-view. There was pay-per-view in Florida, his cable. I don't know if my cable had it, but my dad wanted to see it on closed circuit. He loved Hulk Hogan, so he wanted to see Hogan Bundy on a big screen. So he had a little interest too. My dad was a big babyface fan. He liked all the good guys. So he wanted to see Hogan Bundy in the cage on a big screen. So he was going to, but he went for me. So I do have a sauce, as crappy as this show is, I do have a soft spot for it because it is the first live show sort of that I went to. The first live show with actual guys in the building that I went to was and I've said it in the past, the December 14th, 1986 Saturday night's main event taping up at the Hartford Civic Center. That was the one with Hogan and Orndorff in the cage where they both hit the floor at the same time. I was there live for that. Then my first long show, that February of '87, I went to a Superstars taping in New Haven that was like 5 hours long, and my father's like, "You're never going to this during the week again," because I couldn't get out of bed to go to school the next day. So I was there. I didn't go to a house show again during the week from that point on. But anyway, I digress. So WrestleMania 2 kind of has a soft spot for me because it was the first show that I got experience to live with, obviously in a weird sense, because in a hybrid sense, because I wasn't actually live, but there was a good crowd. It was a sellout. There was, a sellout for the Coliseum back then. There was probably 9,000 in the building.
Wow.
For the closed circuit, big screen. It was pretty awesome. So what we're going to do tonight, probably long overdue. I think we held on to this for a couple of years, Dave, to make sure that we had a good stage for it. We are going to rebook WrestleMania 2. And we're going to do it. We'll try to get a good pace because we got a couple other things to do tonight. So we're not going to go too nuts, but we will flesh it out. And it seems easy, but it's not easy because you think to yourself, wow, there are a lot of good matches and everything. We'll just get rid of all the fluff. Well, we can't have a 5-match WrestleMania. That's stupid. No. So we do have to play with some of the other pieces. I've already got an immediate change to the main event. I think Dave knows where I'm going, but we'll get to that in a minute. So get us started. How do you want to change things? Obviously, I know we talked about this. We might as well break it. We obviously don't want to do 3 venues because even Vince said years later that was a fucking dumb idea. And I don't think 3 venues. I'll be honest with you. I don't think 3 venues would work now. No. Right?
No. It's too chaotic. The time zone differences, the impact. I mean, it's well known fact that they held the LA section of the show before the rest of it. So the main event was on before everyone else had actually even gotten in the ring. So It was that was just a colossal stuff up. It doesn't work now. It didn't work then. It definitely wouldn't work now. I think we need to stream it down to 1 venue. And I think when you look at the nature of the show, and I think a couple of opportunities that are available to a rebook anyway, I think the best option would be to hold the show in Chicago and keep it at the whole show at the Rosemont Horizon. And I'll elaborate further on why a little bit later on, but I think that's probably the better option.
No, I agree. If you look at the 3 venues total, Long Island, I mean, I love Nassau. I've been there for concerts. I like Nassau Coliseum. Would I put a WrestleMania there? No. Even in 1986, I wouldn't put a WrestleMania there. No, I wouldn't do that. No. LA, as great as LA is as a city, I don't think WWE was ready to make that a showcase venue on its own yet. Even though Vince was, taking over the world at that point, national expansion, etc. I don't think they were ready for 1986 for a big LA show. Perhaps a few years down the line, of course, we would have WrestleMania 7 there, but that would be 5 years later. Chicago's perfect. They did the Wrestling Classic there in November. It's a great city. Vince, at that point, obviously had a clear hard on for Vern and the AWA, so he didn't give a rat shit going into AWA territory. And Rosemont Horizon was his building. He didn't Vern didn't go into the Rosemont. His big places were the Met in Minneapolis and the St. Paul Civic Center, whatever the hell it was called. So of the 3 venues, I agree with you. I think Chicago's the perfect choice because it's still WWF centric. It's not Nassau. Then we're going to go back to the Garden, and LA was just not quite ready for WWF to have a showcase show there yet. No. So I agree. Chicago's a good choice.
All right. So we've got a venue. So let me ask, look, before we rebook and talk about the main event, because I know that's where we're going to head. Let's just lay some cards on the table. Are there any matches at all that you would leave untouched. I have one guaranteed match that I would not change. And
I know exactly. Same one as me.
That's the tag title match. The Bulldogs and the Dream
absolutely.
Team. That's a great match, well built. It was the time for the Bulldogs to ascend. That match remains completely untouched, in my opinion.
Totally. Agree 100%. They were the hot babyface team. They were tearing up the house show circuit. They had a couple of great, them and the Dream Team. My brother loved the Dream Team, Valentine and Beefcake. And they were tearing it up in December 85 through February 86 on the house show circuit. JR and I did couple of the MSG matches. They really had great chemistry. I would absolutely not touch that match.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead. Yep.
Is there anything else that you would leave untouched?
The Battle Royal.
Okay. Except maybe some of the competitors might change. But
the competitors would change because we're going to get rid of some of these crap matches. So
yes, and we're going to need to maybe sub guys in and out. So absolutely, I agree. The Battle Royal needs to stay, and I think this is where we come back to our conversation about that being in Chicago. I think one of the great things about the WrestleMania II Battle Royal was incorporating the NFL players, the NFL stars into it, and more importantly, bringing in the Chicago boys and the refrigerator, William Perry being such a prominent role in that Battle Royal with his interactions with Big John Studd. And I think that becomes a draw card for Chicago, that their guys, having just won the Super Bowl, their guys are going to be in it. And I think that's why you've got to keep the Battle Royal as one of the matches.
Yeah, absolutely. I would switch out some guys because I've got a couple of matches that I think would be amazing that I would make out of guys in this Battle Royal that are kind of wasted. And they're not just I'm going to preface, I'm not just throwing matches in out of my ass to be dreamy. There is some build to these. So I would definitely I'm definitely thinking why I'm making these matches. So,
cool. I think I agree with that, and I think I've got a couple of thoughts on a couple of guys that I would move out of the Battle Royal into matches as well. So that works well. All right. So there's 2 matches unchanged. Do you have any others that you wouldn't touch?
I really want to keep Uncle Elmer and Adrian. No, I don't. Absolutely not. Although I would like to have Adrian Adonis somewhere.
Yes.
Like JR, I totally abhor hillbillies. So I have no interest in Uncle Elmer in anything. You get to actually, we'll put Uncle Elmer in the Battle Royal because we're gonna take guys out. So
that's right. He'll end up in the Battle Royal.
Yeah, because I gotta take guys out. What do you think about? Because I like the match and I can't think of anything else for him. What about Herc and Steamboat?
No, I've got something else for Steamboat.
Do you do? Okay, no, good. Okay, that's fine. Okay.
While Herc and Steamboat actually wasn't a bad match, I've got something else that I believe Steamboat should be doing.
Sure. Okay. Otherwise, no. I've got a better IC title match, a much better IC title match, because I can't stand that Savage George Steele match. I fucking hate that match.
Yeah, no, it's abysmal. We'll come to that. We'll come to that.
Yeah.
All right.
But I've got I got a better opponent for Savage. So
yes, yeah. So do I. So, and I think we'll probably have the same opponent, but we'll see where that goes.
Yep.
So let's go to the main event, because I think we need to talk about this, because I think I know what you're going to throw out there, and I think this could be worth a conversation. So, what's your thoughts? Who you're obviously suggesting Hogan doesn't face Bundy in the main event. No. So who are you suggesting Hogan face and why?
Well, I'm going to pull off the deal that was not done in real life. You know where I'm going. The deal that was not done in real life. You were in the prime of the Cold War. The Cold War would last a couple of more years. Well, maybe at least another year and a half. So we all know what the rumor was back then. So we here in the alternate universe are doing it. In the steel cage, it is Hulk Hogan and Nikita Koloff.
Okay.
He debuts on the Saturday Night's Main Event in January, not February, January. That one where he wrestled, that January 86 Saturday Night's Main Event where he wrestles. Well, no, maybe that's too long. We'll do February. We'll do the same thing in Phoenix. Hogan wrestles Morocco in that title match on that Phoenix Saturday Night's Main Event in mid-February. But instead of Bundy coming out, this guy comes out, Nikolai Volkov brings out his buddy, and Nikita Koloff comes out with the chain and absolutely throttles Hogan in the ring. Busts him open, makes him bleed. We still get the rib injuries. He's whipping him in the ribs with the steel chain. Beats the crap out of him. Nikolai's waving the Russian flag, the Soviet flag. They both stand there with this national anthem. Shit's getting thrown in the ring. They do it over Hogan's body. They don't let the paramedics in. Hogan's all broken up, spitting up blood, and they're standing there doing holding up the flag. The place is going freaking bonkers. That's your build for April 7th.
I like it.
In the cage.
I like that.
You spend the next 2 months, Nikita Koloff saying, Hogan, I was brought here by the motherland. I don't care about Reagan and Gorbachev. They could have their stupid talks in Iceland or whatever. As far as I'm concerned, the Soviet Union will always be the superpower. And on April 7th, inside that steel cage, not only am I going to take your World Wrestling Federation Championship, I'm going to take your heart, I'm going to take your soul, and I'm going to take your country. It's going to be better. It's actually going to be the WrestleMania 7 build, only better. So, yeah. Hogan, Nikita Koloff in the cage.
I like it. I like it very much. I would probably suggest, I don't know that I would debut Koloff in the attack. I think you need to have him on television before then. I think you need to have him have a couple of TV squash matches. Probably brought out, like you said, by Koloff. Maybe at the Saturday Night's Main Event before then. I just think you want to have him on TV briefly so that WWF fans in 86 know who this guy is.
Good point.
Because you don't have we don't have weekly Raw. We don't have the ability to
Good point.
To really build it like that. So I think you want to have him probably do a couple of it was championship wrestling at the time. We weren't superstars, yes, but championship wrestling matches. You have him debut on championship wrestling. You have him squash everyone, kill everyone, and then maybe even on the first Saturday Night's Main Event. For that year, you have him appear and he can do a complete demolition squash job on some lower card guy, and then you've got that aura built, and that allows you to do what you did in with him coming in and attacking during the Morocco match.
Right.
So yeah, I think that works. That works. I like it. I think that'd be a great match. So
okay.
Cool. All right. So there's our main event. I like that main event. Hogan and Nikita, I think would be a classic. It'd be a bloodbath, and it would be good. A shave his head bald guy versus a guy losing his hair bald guy. I think you can get a lot of blood in that.
I like that. That's funny.
All right. So let's start having a look at the rest of the card now. I'm going to ask the question, what are you going to do with Bundy then if he's not in the main event? They'd spent 12 months building him up. What do we do with Bundy?
Don't build him up. I don't know.
Let's come back to Bundy. We'll come back to Bundy. We'll see if we can find something for him. I just throw it out there. It's an interesting question because I don't know that I want to just throw him in the Battle Royal because I think that will take away from some of the other things that are going to be in the Battle Royal.
Yeah, I agree. You're right. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, let me go back to it. You asked about Ricky Steamboat. Let me go back. I'm going to throw out where I think Steamboat should go.
Okay.
And that is Steamboat was in the middle of a major feud at the time, and they did nothing with it at the pay-per-view. And that is he should be facing Morocco. He should be one-on-one against the magnificent Morocco it can be a no DQ match. It could be a falls count anywhere match. It could some sort of stipulation on it, but that's the match that those two guys should have had.
Yeah, no, that's great. I agree with that because as we all know, Morocco and Paul Orndorff have that terrible match to open the show, and Orndorff does that overtly racist eye thing with the Chinese with Fuji, which we get why he did it, but anyway, that match is just garbage. We may have something else for Orndorff, but yeah, I agree, because they were tearing it up on the house shows. There were a couple of really good Morocco Steamboat house show matches in mid to late '85 at the Garden. So no, I agree with you 100%. I would do it. Yeah. I would absolutely do it. Yep.
All right. So Morocco and Steamboat are going to face off. So that then goes, well, what do we want to do with Orndorff? Orndorff is a major player in for a big year. He's got to be on the show. So I'm going to throw out this suggestion, and I'm interested to see whether you have something else in your mind or what you think of this. I would play off the 12-month build from Mania 1, and I would have Orndorff face Piper. I would get T out of the ring. I would not. T can be Paul Orndorff's manager. Second, he can be in the corner, but I would have Orndorff and Piper face off as sort of the end of their feud.
Yes, I like that. I'll tell you why I like that, because
it gets Mr. T out of the ring.
Pretty much, because we all know that Hope Piper didn't love doing that, and we want to make Piper happy. So I would totally do that. Yeah, that's a great idea. I like that idea, because the boxing match is crap. I mean, yeah, it was fun, and Piper, made T look like an idiot. And we kind of need to do our own thing here. So,
and this is the sort of match you could have, because we know Piper's about to leave. You could either have Piper and Orndorff just go to a double DQ, resulting in T can then jump in the ring, and T could lay out Cowboy Bob. He doesn't have to lay out Piper, but then you could sort of have that double DQ in the ring. T comes in, lays out Ace, and Piper can basically, he can hightail out of the ring, and Orndorff and T can celebrate and hug in the ring and raise each other's hand, and the crowd get a Mr. T moment, but we don't have to deal with him actually competing in the ring. And I think Orndorff and I think it also, like I said, you can play off the build. Then becomes, Piper could be, you cost us the match at WrestleMania 1, and we know that's what they've done with the face turn.
Right.
But you can play this whole idea off this whole year. Orndorff, this whole year you've been blaming me. And this is on you guys, and you can just lead it in. Just use that 12-month heat to sort of come together, and then Orndorff bring out, you've got Ace. I've got an ace up my sleeve. I've got the man who was there who beat you guys last year, and then that could be an episode of Piper's Pit or a championship wrestling segment, and he brings out T to be a sport, and T's to go. T can be going, I've seen the change. You're a different man, Mr. Wonderful. You've come so far, and it's my honor to be. I'm going to support you. I'm going to make sure, Bob Orton doesn't interfere, and that that you get your revenge, and you can have that as that sort of background.
Yep, that's what I would do. I totally agree with that. Because that was a legit feud. Like, here was the problem. Ultimately, Dave, this was the problem with WrestleMania 2. All of the feuds that came out of WrestleMania 1 that they could have cultivated into this show, they just used on the house show circuit. And then Vince went overload on the celebrities because he thought that's what everybody wanted after WrestleMania 1. Well, WrestleMania 1 had a very specific type of celebrity because we were in New York City. But then Vince just dumped everything he saw on TV into WrestleMania 2, and none of it made any sense. Yeah. Claire, the fucking Wendy's lady, where's the beef? The guy from the Burger King commercial? I mean, really? Yeah. Why do we didn't need Mr. T for a second year in a row. Mr. T was hot because he was with Hogan, because it was the main event of the first WrestleMania. We didn't need Mr. T to come back. There was no need for it. Nobody cared about Bob Orton as a boxer. Nobody cared. You know what I mean? The whole point was you wanted to build a good babyface run for Orndorff, because before he really turned heel that summer and feuded with Hogan in '86.
Hmm.
This was the perfect way to do that. Really get him over. The fans like him, good physique. He's got the cool, robe and everything. And in the grand scheme of things, the only thing Orndorff did was eat the pin. It was Piper and Orton that screwed the pooch on the cast shot. So that's where you go with it. And the fans would eat that up. And I think that's perfect. And that was ultimately the problem with WrestleMania 2. Excuse me. Vince had all these great feuds that he was building throughout 85, and then he gets to 86 and he gets rid of them all and then rebuilds this shit card just so we can have 37 crap celebrities. That's what happened. So I would totally put Piper Orndorff. I was worried where you were going to put Piper because we were talking about another match later, and I thought you and I, well, they're both heels, so I guess it wouldn't matter. But this was a better, I like this. I like this spot. So definitely, I have that down.
All right.
Excuse me.
All right, then let's go to the IC title match, okay? And I think we're both getting up in the same boat. George Steele should never have ever been anywhere near that championship match.
No.
He should never have been anywhere near a title match ever in the life of the company.
No.
So
he was a great he was a great heel. He was a great heel in the late 60s through the early to mid 70s. He was a good guy for Bruno, even for Pedro. At the time, in that era of wrestling here in the Northeast, in the late 60s into the early to mid 70s, he was perfectly fine. But to have that match just because you want him to drool over Elizabeth is so dumb.
Yes.
Absolutely dumb.
Yeah.
And
so,
I wouldn't have done it. So
we'll find somewhere else for George Steele shortly. I've got two options for him, and we'll come back to him later. But okay, title match. I think I have a suspicion I know what you would like, and I'm probably going to agree.
Yep.
What is our IC title match? Savage versus who?
Well, this feud built on the house show circuit, particularly in Boston. I think it would be an epic one-on-one match. Both guys would respect each other backstage because Savage was a fan of history. I think it could be an amazing build. I think you make the Intercontinental Championship match the Macho Man Randy Savage and the living legend Bruno Sammartino.
Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't see that coming.
I give Bruno the IC title shot. I'm curious your guy now, though. Now I'm curious because I thought you had Bruno. I'm curious your guy, but hear me out.
I'll hear you out, and then I'll throw some counter arguments at you.
Okay, sure, no problem. Bruno was in him. He picked a fight with Savage because he didn't like the way Savage treated Elizabeth, shoving Elizabeth around. And he called him a piece of trash, and they did the back and forth on the Cindies, and then they did a cage match in Boston. It was Bruno and Tito against Savage and Piper because he started bad-mouthing Piper too. Piper was bad-mouthing Bruno on Piper's Pits and on the Cindies in early 86. So I think, Bruno, I'm pretty sure Bruno has won the tag team titles. I'm pretty sure he was a tag team champion at some point in WWF. And obviously he was world champion, duh. But the one belt that Bruno has never won was the Intercontinental Championship. And he says, I was proud of seeing great wrestlers like Pat Patterson and my colleagues and my compatriots, Pedro Morales, and even that piece of crap Don Morocco was champion, and a great young wrestler like Tito Santana. But you, Randy Savage, I'm giving myself one shot. And I'll even do this, and I'm sure Bruno probably was fine with it. If I can't beat you for the Intercontinental title, I'll retire. And of course, Savage is going to win the match, but Bruno's not going to win the IC belt. And Bruno goes out that night. I think it'd be a great match. I think it solidifies Savage as a legit guy more than wrestling fucking George Steele would be. It takes Bruno out of the battle royal because he's lost in the shuffle. I get it. Bruno's not at his prime. I get that. But if you're looking at one nostalgia-ish, and now nostalgia is not a big deal at this point, but you still have people that care about Bruno. My dad loved Bruno. My grandfather loved Bruno. My grandfather met Bruno many times. when he was an usher at the old New Haven Arena. I think this is a moment for Savage. Bruno kind of does the Mick Foley role in the late 90s where he puts over somebody. And I think that match could be amazing. Because that George Steele match just didn't do Savage any favors. It didn't. Who cares that Elizabeth's the manager? That's nice. But it's all about Savage wanting respect. This isn't about Elizabeth, Bruno. Ooh, yeah. It's about you respecting me. I'm the Intercontinental Champion. You're an old broken down fossil. And at WrestleMania, I'm going to finish you once and for all. And you're going to go off to the retirement home and eat, canned peaches and play pinochle. I'm putting you out. You're done. And I think they have on a banger match, solid 10 minutes, 11 minutes, nothing crazy. Bruno gets a couple of shots in, and Savage gets lucky, gets a shot in, drops the elbow, wins the match. Bruno goes out of the sunset a champion. Not a champion, but, goes out like the legend that he is. Now, I'm curious. I have a couple guys in my head that I think you're thinking of, which are perfectly good alternatives. I just feel like I want to give Bruno one last rub that he deserved. But listen, if you have other guys, I'm open to, of course it's you, Dave. I'm open to anything. I just wanted to give, I feel like I want to give Bruno a rub that the Battle Royal didn't do.
No,
so that's just me, though. That's just me.
Yep. All right. So I can certainly see the arguments you've put forward there, and I think there are some solid arguments.
Okay.
Couple of counter arguments that might throw in the mix.
Okay.
Number one, I wonder if putting Bruno in the IC title match would be considered beneath him as a legend. He's a living legend because he was the world champion for so long. He was the top guy for so long, and he has that legendary status that I wonder if putting him into an intercontinental title match is a little bit considered beneath him, even from the fans' perspective at the time. While it would be an outstanding match, why are we going to do that? And also, from a fan's perspective, is he, are we sort of giving it away that, he's not going to win? I think that it could be a little bit of because you've just put the title belt on Savage, it becomes a little bit of a way too clear a picture that, San Martino is going to lose. And while in 2025, that's something that you would just expect to happen, 1986, there's still a lot of pride taken in trying to keep the storyline journey and the outcomes secret, and try to give you a match that you think is a legitimate shot. So I think there's a couple of arguments. I also, the matches you were referencing that was more tied around San Martino and Piper than it was the role that Savage was playing in that, because the San Martino Savage stuff really kicks in when Steamboat gets taken out in late '86 by Savage, and that's when they really start that little stuff between San Martino and Savage in the big markets. So
right, yep.
There's a couple of things to consider. I do like the idea of a better moment for San Martino, and my idea for Savage had been a title match with Tito, and either you hold off the IC title change to WrestleMania, so you don't have the title moot change in Boston.
In February in Boston. Okay.
You actually have it here.
Okay.
Or this is the big televised rematch. You could do either way there. That's what I think that would be a better option for Savage to really put him over, because I think one of the things that I also hated about I guess the one thing that as bad as the Steel match is, The reality is Savage goes over super clean. He drops. George Steele's biting and tearing, and Savage is doing a bit of running from the craziness. But the reality is, he gets in the ring, he punches him. I think he hits the axe handle, puts him on a body slam, and drops the elbow on him. I mean, that is really what the match is. It's a very, very, the match, as bad as it is, it puts Savage over strong. And I think I'm worried that you're not able to keep Savage strong against Sammartino. Now, let me throw this idea, and this has only just come to me with all the arguments you've put forward about wanting Sammartino to have a moment and putting him in a match, but possibly in a position where he may lose it or not necessarily win clean. What if we put him in the ring with Bundy? We've got to have a match for Bundy. Bundy's doing the whole 5 count, the avalanche, the humiliating opponents with the 5 count. You could build a storyline where Sammartino is objecting to the humiliation of the guys that Bundy's beating. Sammartino can go in there as the strong guy. He could even slam Bundy in the match. There's your big moment. And yet Sammartino could win the match by DQ. Bundy could hit him with a foreign object. Bobby Heenan could interfere and distract Sammartino, allowing Bundy to get the avalanche and get a couple of, you could sort of end the match with Bundy dropping a couple of avalanches on him or big splashes on him and celebrating, and everyone thinking that Sammartino would get carried out on a stretcher, but no, Sammartino gets up and, sort of shock, Bundy could be halfway to the back when Sammartino stands up and like, no, I'm walking out of here, and, sort of gets the ovation from the crowd. I don't know. How does that sit?
I'm okay with that. Yeah, I'm okay with that. You're going down the same, your philosophy, Dave, is no different than mine. You're just putting it in a different you're just giving me a different narrative. But the premise is the same. I want Bruno to go out a legend in this modern audience. Now we're just beginning the expansion, right? But I feel like I really want to give Savage or Bruno the moment he deserves as a legend in front of this giant pay-per-view crowd that he never got before during his prime, because obviously pay-per-view wasn't a thing in the fucking 70s, or 60s. So you and I have the same premise. I'm fine so long as Bruno. I guess my point is, so long as Bruno gets his moment, you can put him anywhere you want. I'm fine with it.
And
so
I think
that would be. So, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, and this allows us to get Bundy a feature at the same time, a very highlighted feature. He's wrestling the legend, and you can use that as the build up for when Hogan finishes with Koloff. Then Bundy can be saying, "I took out the legend, and now I'm coming for the title."
Okay, yeah, that's fine. And then maybe. I mean, I guess you hold off Orndorff, Orndorff's feud.
Well, you do. But Bundy becomes that bridge between Mania and the summer when Orndorff and then that title match, that tag match. Hogan beats Bundy at the Garden a couple of times, at that Boston Garden. It's like they do the house show circuit, beating Bundy, and then that televised match becomes almost the end of the feud. Like Bundy brings in Stud to help him. I haven't beaten Hogan yet, but the two of us will take you down, and then the Orndorff turn can still happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. No, I'll do that for you. Again, I wasn't putting Bruno in the IC title match because I wanted him to win the belt. That wasn't happening. I just wanted to give Bruno deserved a moment. That was my thing when I went into this tonight. When I was kind of looking over some of my notes, one thing I wanted us to do is I wanted to give Bruno his moment. He deserved it. And now this is the first big show. Bruno had to sit and watch his son fumble his way through his career because he's a moron. The first year, WrestleMania 1. In fact, you and I, of course, booked WrestleMania 1 last year, and we had Bruno and David against Beefcake and Luscious John in a tag match because the match that they did have was fucking stupid. And same thing here. Obviously, Vince wasn't thinking that way because it's Vince. And whatever. That's fine. But for us here, all I was about was making sure that Bruno got a moment. And I had the IC title match, but I actually like the Tito coming in as champ and losing. So I'm more for that. So I'm okay with not having it happen in February and having Savage win the belt here. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
We'll put that there. So, and then have Bruno, try to outsell Bundy, and then Bundy's got to splash him like 5 times. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Or the best one would be, and you kind of said it, like Bruno goes for I would do this. I mean, tell me if this is wrong. Maybe I'm over Brunoing it, but I would like Bruno I would like him to do this avalanche. He does the 3 count, and then Bundy wants the 5, and Bruno kicks out at 4.
Oh, I like that.
And then Bundy's like, well, I won anyway. And ref's like, no, you wanted a 5. You didn't get a 5. Match continues.
And then he can just then he can just get himself DQ'd. And
right.
so then Sammartino gets his hand raised, but he's left, like I said, he's left in a bit of a mess. Bundy starts leaving, and then Sammartino can get back up, sort of like, I'm not finished. And Heenan's like, you're not going back in there, Bundy. You're not going back in there.
Right. Yeah. Okay, good. All right, we worked
good.
it out. See? What negotiating does. It's what Reagan and Gorbachev was doing at this time for the Cold War. You and I did you and I did it here.
Yeah.
We both got we got what we wanted. Bruno gets his shine. So that's what I was fine with. So okay.
All right. So that means that Tito is not tagging with JYD against the Funk Brothers. Now, JYD needs to be against the Funk Brothers. They've been building that match on TV, and they've been building that match for a while. So here's the really easy thing. George Steele teamed regularly with JYD on Championship Wrestling.
Yep.
Just move George Steele into that spot. And it works because then you've got the chaos. Like the Funk Brothers are chaotic, and George Steele is chaotic. I think it adds to the chaotic nature of that match.
I hate to do this.
Yeah.
We're gonna keep it. We're gonna keep it. I'm not gonna change it. But I just thought of something really cool. I want to bring somebody else from the outside. Can I bring somebody from the outside?
Who are you bringing in?
Can I bring in Bruiser Brody? Please? Because I want to see Bruiser and Funk annihilate each other. But I'm sorry. No. We'll put George Steele in. I'm half kidding. We're not gonna do that. I'm not gonna destroy. I'm not gonna do what Vince did in real life and destroy everybody's roster. I'm not gonna do that. But oh man, what I'd love to see Funk and Bruiser Brody absolutely destroy Chicago. It'd be so great. But no, I'm fine. I'm good. I'm good with George Steele in that match. He's fine. JYD could control him. It's a good gimmicky match. We're putting the Funks over anyway. Perfectly fine. George can eat the pin. He's a pin eater. You don't have to have Tito pin it. You don't have to have You don't want to have JYD eat the pin. George eats the pin. Totally fine. All good. Yeah, I'm all good.
All right. Cool. Okay, so I think there's a couple of other matches that need to be looked at. We've got most of what the card's probably going to be. Mm-hmm. I want to talk about Corporal Kirchner and Nikolai Volkov for a minute, because that match is a piece of crap.
It's awful. It's awful.
And to top it off, they'd met on Saturday night's main event in another piece of crap match.
Yeah, really.
Now, you could easily just say, let's just throw them into the Battle Royal. But I'm going to offer another alternative. Why don't we pull Sheik out of the Battle Royal, and Sheik and Volkov can team up against Kirchner, and you could put him with Danny Spivey, who's got the American Express gimmick, having just been teaming with Rotundo, and you might get something slightly better than the absolute crap that is Kirchner and Volkov. You could keep the flag match element to it. You could tie it into the Koloff Hogan main event, because you could have Koloff managed by Classic Freddie Blassie as well. So you could sort of make it a bit of a stable thing. So you could sort of play into it and probably have Volkov and Sheik go over Kirchner and Spivey. So you can do the whole, are these foreigners going to run riot tonight through the whole show? And then Hogan can get the win and celebrate and wave the flag and everyone will be happy.
Right. Yep. Totally fine with that. Yeah, can we get Bruiser Brody for this match? No, I'm just kidding. How about Abdul the Butcher? No, Abdul the Butcher would be way over Vince's head. That wouldn't happen. No. No. Way over Vince's head. No, this is fine. Sheik and Volkov still a viable team. I know they did wrestle together a lot throughout most of the rest of '85. So
that's it, and they're pretty well a team right through to '87. So that's why I think you can get them out of there, and so then you can look at someone like. So then I think there's two other guys that need a match. Okay, you've got Jake, and you've got Adrian Adonis. Now you could, if you want to, just give Jake the super solid win, because he's only just debuted in the company. You could keep that George Wells match if you want. George sells the DDT really, really well. If you want him against someone more prominent, you could pull maybe Tony Atlas out of the Battle Royal, or Hillbilly Jim out and put them with Jake. But I think Jake needs a match, and then we've got Adonis. And what if you put Adrian Adonis against like Haku, King Tonga? Get a better match.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm good with that. So Haku versus
the adorable one.
Haku versus Adonis. Yeah. Or actually, it wouldn't be Haku, it'd be King Tonga.
King Tonga, but yeah.
Versus Adrian. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Make for a better match. Yes. For sure. Because that,
and then and Jake can still wrestle George Wells if we want. There's no, that's probably the one match you want to scrub. You want essentially a jobber in it, because you've just debuted him. You want to put Jake over strong. You want a quick, easy win, and you want to see the snake. So I think you could. I think in the end that could be another match you do keep.
Yeah. No, I think so. And I think it adds to the build for that and makes it a little crackly. So, yeah. So we've got, all right, we have 8 matches. It's pretty good. And then the Battle Royal, right?
Yeah.
So Is there any other singles? Is there any other non-Battle Royals we're looking at?
Well, the other question is, do you want the women on the card?
Oh God, no. I know I hate to be an ass. I'm not being sexist, but that match sucks. Let's write down. Let's type Bulldogs and Dream Team. I don't want to forget that. Duh.
No.
Bulldogs versus Dream Team. So that gives us 9 matches.
9 matches in the Battle Royal. So that's 10 instead of the 12 that we got.
Right. I'm sure Moolah's gonna want to throw her fucking weight around. Yeah, Moolah is going to want to throw her weight around. So, she's going to want to be in something. I don't know. What do you do?
I like I said, I wouldn't have her involved in any way. She can accompany Piper to the ring if she wants.
Sure.
No,
sure.
No, I wouldn't. I don't want her associating with Hot Rod. And
yeah, no. That wouldn't end well.
She could be the special guest timekeeper for the Battle Royal.
Yeah. She could do that, sure. She can hold like a trophy or some crap or something, put on one of her little supposed sexy outfits. Yeah, that's fine. She could do that. Otherwise, because that match with, and I know Velvet McIntyre eventually wins the belt, later that year in '86, and I think she loses right back to Moolah or something. I don't know.
She wins it in Australia.
Yeah,
Loses
she
it
does.
right back.
Yep, because is she Australian or is she New Zealand?
No, she's actually, well, depends on, I think, when they decide to work out where they want her from, because she was originally promoted as from Ireland.
Oh, that's right. She was Irish.
Yeah, I don't know that she's actually, but then they did go through a period of time where they were trying to give her the hometown as from Australia, and I think it was around the time of the Australian tour to try and create some sort of hometown element when they toured down here with the Sea Crew.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So, but yeah, no, we're not. No, we're not doing that.
They can do an interview halfway through the show saying, it's a disgrace that I haven't, I'm the women's champion, and no one, don't even have no one wants to challenge me. I'm so good. No one wants. You could just do an interview with her, backstage interview.
Yeah, exactly. You could put her in the show without, having to put her up against some woman, because, obviously the women's matches, there was nothing, earth shattering at the time. So I wouldn't have bothered either. Yeah. But, so then, here we go. So, sorry. Yep.
I was going to say, and then you've got the battle royal, and you've got the guys that we've pulled out of matches, like Uncle Elmer and Hercules. They can go into the battle royal, and I think it's important that you need to keep the Hart Foundation and the Killer Bees in that battle royal, because they're really the ring generals for that match. They really. They're the ones that keep the story flowing and keep the key moments together. So you need them in there, otherwise that goes to pieces. But you keep the battle royal pretty well as is, with everyone who's hasn't been included in the card, the NFL players, and Andre still wins it.
Oh yeah, Andre still wins it. That's cake. We're not gonna. Yeah, that's stupid to change that. That makes no sense.
You still have your Fridge and Big John Studd moment. You still have your Bill Fralick and Big John Studd moment. I think all that can still be in there. I just a couple of changes to the scrubs that get tossed.
Right. Yeah. Yep. So here's our card for WrestleMania II, April 7th, 1986, from Rosemont Horizon in Rosemont, Illinois. Suburb of Chicago. We have the Battle Royal still. The Bulldogs and the Dream Team for the tag team titles. King Tonga against Adrian Adonis. The Foreign Legion, as JR and I called them. Sheik and Volkov against Corporal Kirchner and Dan Spivey, as called him. As what's his name? Duke of Dorchester. Spivey. Dan Spivey. JYD and George Animal Steel against the Funks. Randy Savage against Tito Santana, or Tito Santana, I should say, since he'll be the champion, against Randy Savage at the IC title, which, of course, Savage will win. King Kong Bundy against Bruno Sammartino. Roddy Piper versus Paul Orndorff. Ricky Steamboat versus Don Morocco. And in the main event, in a steel cage, Hulk Hogan defends the World Wrestling Federation heavyweight title against Nikita Koloff. Now, you could get rid of the cage and make it a steel chain match, but I think the cage is just better, because I think Vince, again, I don't think Vince would be very comfortable with the steel putting chains in the ring. I don't think Vince was ready for that kind of hullabaloo yet. So, yeah. All right, there's your WrestleMania 2. Let us know what you think. Obviously, this show will be posted in our Place to Be Facebook page, and let us know your thoughts on how we make WrestleMania 2 any better. I think we did. Probably wasn't hard, but I think we did. All right. Now we will fast forward 27 years. 27 years. To almost 27 years. Actually, 27 years to the day. We didn't even do this on purpose, I think, Dave. We're going to go from April 7th, 1986, a show that I watched live at closed circuit, to a show that I was actually at. April 7th, 2013, WrestleMania 29, the first one at MetLife Stadium. We all know that card. Not a terrible card, but I think we could make it better.
Yes.
I thought the show was good live. Yes, I have said that I did not like, and we're going to definitely change this. I did not like the stipulation for the Triple H Brock Lesnar match. I think it should have been the stip they had the following month I think it was Extreme Rules when they wrestled in the cage. I thought that would have been better suited. I think that would have – this no holds barred, in my opinion, was not suited for a 80,000 seat venue. I felt like that was a gimmick for a smaller building. I think this should have been like a cage or something very grandiose looking. But we'll talk about it. So here was the original card. You had Ms. Wade Barrett was the dark match for the IC belt, and that was the only time during the show that it rained, Dave. It only rained during that. We got lucky there. The Shield defeated Big Show, Randy Orton, and Sheamus. Mark Henry defeated Ryback. Team Hell No defeated Big E and Dolph Ziggler. Fandango beat Jericho. Alberto Del Rio kept the World Heavyweight title against Jack Swagger. Taker defeated Punk. Triple H beat Brock. And John Cena beat The Rock for the WWE title. All right. I think that obviously the first thing we're gonna tackle here is we don't like the main event.
No.
I don't think we need a Rock Cena rematch.
No.
Not here anyway. I think you and I are of the same wavelength. I would never have, and I think most people think this way, I would never have had Punk lose to The Rock at the Rumble.
No.
I would have just had Punk come into here as the triumphant champion in the main event. Still have Cena win. Let's just jump on that now. But I would have had Punk Cena in the main event. Just titling my thing here. Punk Cena in the main event for the WWE title, and I would have had Cena win. I still have had Cena win. That I don't have a problem with.
I think
Punk deserved
the
last stage.
Absolutely, he deserved to be the main event. He'd earned it. I mean, you guys talked about. I mean, you talked about this in the past. I mean, this has been heavily talked about in multiple podcasts over the years. Punk should have been and had earned the right to be in the main event of that WrestleMania. He deserved it. And I think if you'd put him in a match against Cena, it really, you can draw the full circle story. Punk has become the heel and he had the fans against him. He managed to get the fans against him. So you really could, you could play up the whole storyline, could come around to the fact that Punk beat Cena for to start the whole Punk storyline. Like, yes, he dropped the belt temporarily, but the whole storyline, the whole title, CM Punk being the main man, if he could play that, was by beating Cena for the title. And so Cena can win Royal Rumble and Punk can be sitting there going, I beat you to, this whole reign started when I beat you. I've already proven I'm better than you, and you've earned the title shot. So, but I'm going to beat you again. Yep. And you could even play into a little bit, Cena. The doubt could be there. I've met you. We met before. Yeah, you beat me, and you beat me fair and square in the middle of the ring. But I've learned from that. I've trained harder. This is going to, you can do all sorts of things to play into it, and yeah, you bring the story full circle, and Cena takes the title from him to end this, massively long reign. I think that would have been the better story.
Absolutely. And even though the fans hated Punk, and you could still elude the whole Shield thing, you could still add that in the mix. But I think Punk would just be a better match. It didn't have, I was there. I know I keep saying that, but when you have to understand the sizzle, and as much as it was a big main event, I remember the year earlier watching it at home, the year before in Miami, that match was huge.
Yeah.
This time it didn't feel that way. But Punk, Cena, yes, they wrestled, in house show match or Raws, and of course they wrestled at the Money in the Bank 2 years earlier and tore the place down. I feel like Punk should have had a chance to be in this moment. I don't know if the MetLife crowd might have turned on Cena just a scoosh because, we Northeasterners are very grizzled. I think that would have mattered? Probably not. Probably not. But I think it would have been a huge boost for Punk. He would have stuck around. I don't think he would have cared if he lost. I think he just would have put on I think he thinks deep down he would have put on a better match, and he would have put Cena over bigger.
Yep.
And he would have stuck around, and he may have stuck around. He might have still taken time off, because he did take time off when he lost to Taker anyway. And that's fine. But I think that he would have been treated better by the company, and he may have stuck around. I don't know if you think. Do you think that?
I think longer term he would have stuck around. So you're saying we wouldn't have had him leave after the Rumble the following year. I think I agree with that. I think his grievance was that he was overlooked for this WrestleMania. That was the big grievance. He'd earned the shot. He deserved it. He deserved to main event, and they took him out. I think that was his big grievance that was never addressed.
Yep.
Now
I agree.
I want to. If that's our main event, then it creates a little dilemma which could possibly be rectified with a different main event. If Punk is going to wrestle Cena, who faces The Undertaker for the streak? And I look at the card and I don't know if there's any genuine person to challenge for the streak. That would be a worthy match. Jericho might be the closest.
I got an idea.
Let me hear your idea.
But I have an idea.
Okay. So, yeah, I'm just trying to work out what you do with Undertaker. And the only thing that goes through my head is you could possibly have an alternative main event, and that is you have Punk face Rock for the title, and you put Cena against The Undertaker.
Or you flip-flop it.
You put
why don't you finally have Rock come back, and he looks at Taker and goes, you and I have drove the same roads during the Attitude Era. We helped bring the company back. But you know what, Rock? You know what, Taker? You've given everybody else a chance. Why don't you give me one? The great one against the great streak. Here's your problem, though. I hate to say it. At that moment in time, you are in a dilemma here. Any match you have with Rock is going to go last. And that counter produces the Punk dilemma. Because I don't think if you have Rock and Taker for the streak, that match is going last. It's not like the year before where you had Triple H and Taker, which would not have gone last.
Yeah. Which then comes back to the idea, could it have been Punk versus Rock? Punk on this massively long thing, Rock is the Rock, and you move Cena against Taker. Cena would certainly, in terms of the streak being on the line, a lot of people would have believed it was a genuine chance that Cena would be given the win over Taker.
I agree.
And you could play it up like, the whole thing. The Rock has said, I want the shot. It's going to be me versus Cena at WrestleMania again the following year. You could even have The Rock he could win the Rumble. Rock could be in the Rumble and Punk could face Cena for the title at the Rumble, and The Rock is the whole thing could be I am going to win this Royal Rumble and I'm going to face Cena for the title, and then Punk beats Cena. And it all shifts, and Punk could just be, you've been sliding me the whole time. You've had your eyes on Cena, but I'm the man. I'm the number one guy, and you're facing me. I think Punk can make it work, and the verbal battles between the two would have been outstanding. Mm-hmm. And then Cena shifts in to face the Undertaker for the streak, and I think you were there. If you're going into that event live and you know Cena's facing the Undertaker for the streak, there is knowing what they think of Cena, knowing what the company thought of Cena and what they did with Cena every time he was in the ring, you would have had a genuine belief that there was a very good chance the streak was ending.
Yes, absolutely. And the crackle in the stadium and around the even the parking lot and outside the tailgating, even that week when you're doing the live shows and you're at the Hall of Fame and you're at all the WrestleCon, I think I can't disagree with you, Dave. I think you feel the crackle. You feel the electricity, no pun intended. That there's a very good chance. If there's anybody right now whose status can be solidified with a streak breaker, it's Cena.
Yeah.
Not Brock a year later, which still makes, regardless of what people think, it still made no sense. But that's just me. I think that is a genius idea. So I'm changing it. Okay. So
now I'm not saying I would have Cena win the match, but I'm saying
I wouldn't either.
The match would have the uncertainty to it. And until the final bell happened, I think everyone in the arena would genuinely be going, well, they're going to kick out of this finisher because they're not going to want to beat The Undertaker and they're not want to beat Cena. Like it has that expectation. I think it'd have the crowd on edge the whole way.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're right.
Yep.
Getting back to Punk Rock for a minute. So does Rock win the Rumble?
I think you'd have to have Rock win the Rumble. Yeah.
So Punk has been champion since November of 2011. And Punk must win here.
Yep, he'd have to win.
And does he hold it till SummerSlam?
Who knows? That really that could be a
oh
massive...
my God. What? Instead of Cena and Daniel Bryan at SummerSlam, you have Punk and Daniel Bryan at SummerSlam.
Oh.
After having their badass matches in 2012 that everybody forgot about because we had to have fucking Cena, Big Show, and Big Johnny shoved down our fucking throats. Now here we go again. Yeah. Over the Limit 2012 is still one of my favorite. In fact, that might be a future WrestleTracks candidate down the line. Over the Limit 2012. You put them now. Punk puts Bryan over, and then Orton cashes in, and we go from there.
Yeah, and yet you can still do the same finish because it can be Triple H doesn't want either. Punk has been a thorn in his side, and you could almost, you could tell by this point Punk could almost be back in the good graces of the fan. You'd almost see that the Rock storyline would almost counter-turn him again.
Right.
So you could almost have him coming out of Mania as probably back to babyface mode because the crowd will get behind him. You got this match against Daniel Bryan. Triple H doesn't know what he wants, and so almost in the back of his pocket is whoever wins this match, the cash-in's happening.
Yeah, I've already got Orton waiting.
Yeah,
I don't care who wins this match. They're not. Neither of these guys is. And then you could have Punk and Bryan. Oh, shit, Dave. What are we doing here? You could have Punk and Bryan as the two underdogs. Like, the Authority starts, and he looks at both of them and goes, to be honest with you, I don't really like either of you. I think you're both trash.
I think his issue with it, but you can keep the underdog. I think you keep it onto Bryan because he was the B-plus player, whereas Punk's going to be able to say, I've been champion for 2 years. I am the A player.
Maybe Punk, maybe we start, and then Punk kind of tails
That's
off,
probably when
and you can.
Punk probably takes his break. He probably has his rest for a few months and comes back at the Rumble.
Yeah, you can do
and
that.
He comes back fresh at the Rumble.
Yeah, you can do that. Maybe
Fresh
you
and ready to face the Undertaker for the streak.
right. That's possible. And then you have Punk win instead of Brock. Wow.
Oh my goodness. We're really going down some
Where we go? All right,
holes.
we got to save that, Dave. We got to save that.
Uh,
All right. So we flip-flop those two matches. So instead of Rock Cena Punk Taker, we now have Punk Rock Cena Taker.
yes.
Now, I
and
have
we're
no
keeping
problem.
Triple H Brock. Is that what you're saying? You keep that match.
I
but
keep
you
that
would
match,
just-
but I put it in. I flip-flop the steps from the next two shows.
Yeah.
I would put the cage match here, have Triple H win it, then I would do the street fight or the no holds barred the following month at Extreme Rules, and I have Brock win there.
Yeah.
So the match is fine, and I didn't mind the build. Maybe he broke his arm and all that. I had no problem with that. But from sitting in an 80,000 seat building, a no holds barred fight didn't really work in such a giant venue.
Yeah.
I would have put it in a cage where the cage has like this giant. I wouldn't necessarily do Hell in a Cell. I wouldn't overdo it there. I wouldn't do that. I think that would be overdoing it. You don't need to do Hell in a Cell. But
you could do an old school cage.
Yeah,
where
old
they've
school
got to
cage.
escape to win, and so Brock can hold the. You didn't actually beat me. You got out of the cage.
Yeah, you didn't
but
beat me. You
didn't-
just ran
well,
away like you always do.
Heyman, you would use Heyman to do this part
Yeah.
of the story, but yeah, it's you did not beat my client. You got out of the cage. You
just
ran
away like you always do.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
it. And then it allows for the story to continue, and Brock doesn't look weaker for having lost that match.
Right. And then you have the rematch at Extreme Rules the following month, and then you have Brock win there. So I keep Brock and Triple H. I just change the step.
Yep.
Honestly, the rest of the card doesn't really bother me. I mean, what else would you?
I'd get Jack Swagger out of that title match. Put Jericho there. Jericho. I've heard his interview. The whole Fandango thing was a last minute thing. He was supposed to be facing Ryback apparently.
Oh, God.
And then Vince changed his mind. At least at the time, Ryback was, he was still in a bit of a being pushed mode. He just had the whole series with Punk. So at least that. But Jack Swagger should never have been in that match for the title. Put Jericho against Alberto Del Rio. Jericho is he can work that. I think that becomes a good match, and Jericho can play face or heel depending on what you want Alberto to be doing. And at this point, Alberto was playing face, so Jericho can be the arrogant heel.
Right. Yep. Oh, he was babyface anyway. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
And you can still have the next night. You keep Del Rio winning, and you still have Dolph cash in the next night.
Yeah, absolutely. That works fine. Then you basically.
Does he cash in here? Nah, I'd save it for that Raw. That was a great moment. I wouldn't get rid of that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't get rid of that.
Yeah. Because you've got big moments coming with Taker and Cena, and that just get lost in the night.
No, you're right.
Yeah. And then basically put Swagger in with Fandango, and then you could probably keep the rest of the card the way it is.
Yep. So Swagger versus Fandango. Yeah, the Shield against Show, Orton, and Sheamus is fine. It's fine. Give all those guys something. I guess do Mark Henry Ryback, even though I absolutely fucking hate Ryback. But anyway, that match is fine. Team Hell No against Big E and Dolph. That's fine. It was a solid tag match. And then we fixed everything else. So,
yeah.
All right. Okay. So there's Mania 29. So we didn't do too much tweaking. This card didn't need that much change, but the top of the card definitely needed to be fixed.
Yes, and create some long-term storylines that we heard, I think would really improve the year.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right. Now, it's time to do something we have never ever done before in the, oh my God, what is this, our 44th episode of Through the Looking Glass?
Yeah.
45th? Something like that.
Mm.
In the previous 3.5 years that we've done this show, we have never done this. We have never gone through the looking glass to an alternate universe in the present. We've only gone through alternate universes in the past. Technically not even the present, almost like the immediate future. Because we are now going to, and we won't go too crazy with this, but we are going to rebook how this coming weekend is going to go. WrestleMania 41, 2 nights in Las Vegas. Because I personally don't like much of this card at all, to be honest with you. I don't like much of this card at all. We've got some now, since we've had some couple episodes of SmackDown and such, so the card has gotten solidified even since Reesh, Willie, and I did the last episode of Main Event earlier this, last week.
Mm.
So here is the card at the moment. Night 1, you have the War Raiders defending the World Tag Team titles. Those are the round Raw belts against the New Day. Rey Mysterio against El Grande Americano, which is, of course, Chad Gable. Jade Cargill against Naomi. LA Knight defending the U.S. title against Jacob Fatu. Tiffany Stratton will defend the women's title against Charlotte Flair. Gunther will defend the World Heavyweight title against Jey Uso. And in the triple threat for nothing, Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins. Night 2, Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez will defend the women's tag titles against Bayley and Lara Valkyria. AJ Styles against Logan Paul. Braun Breaker will defend the Intercontinental title in a 4-way against Penta, Finn, and Dominic Mysterio. Finn Balor. Damian Priest against Drew McIntyre in a Sin City street fight. Io Sky defends the women's world title, the other belt, against Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley. And in the main event, Cody Rhodes will defend the undisputed world title against John Cena.
And we can assume there's probably one more match coming into night 2 because Randy Orton's going to be on there somewhere because his match obviously has had to change because of Kevin Owens' unfortunate
Because of
injury.
Kevin Owens' neck injury, correct. Yep.
Yeah. So I would anticipate that night 2 will have Randy Orton versus whoever they decide to put him in the ring with, whether it looks like at this point it's either going to be Nick Aldis or Solo Sikoa. I think that's really where they've only got those 2 options left.
Right.
At the time of recording, obviously, we haven't got this week's Raw and SmackDown to look at. But just going off what happened at the last episode of SmackDown, I think storyline-wise, they're the only 2 options that are available for Orton now.
Yeah, I agree.
But we'll deal with that. We'll deal with all that. That's speculation. We'll deal with our rebook shortly, and we'll find something to do with Orton, hopefully.
Yeah. No, that's fine. Honestly, the one thing that I want to fix for me personally, this is just for everybody, this is personal taste. Most of you probably have no problem with this, and that's certainly fine. But Dave and I are going to have a little fun because I was just telling this to one of my good friends, Mr. Ryan Gray, because I did a little show with him earlier tonight, which you'll hear over on the No-So. Once you see the topic, you'll know why I was on. Let's just leave it at that. Dave knows what I'm talking about. I just don't like Cena in the main event. I think this is a terrible idea. I think it's an Ari. Yes, I'm going to do my Rock joke. It's a Nick and Ari thing. I think it's a stupid idea. I think Cody needs to wrestle somebody real in a real match. I don't think Cena. I think, will the match be fine? It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It's not going to suck. But it won't be better than what I think other matches could be. Here's my simple thing. Don't even have Cena against somebody else. We'll get to that in a minute. We'll give Cena somebody because he is on the farewell tour, and that's fine. We'll give Cena somebody else. What I think needs to happen is night one, the main event of Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins. The winner faces Cody the next night for the undisputed title. That becomes the number one contenders match. Why are we having this triple threat match for nothing? Stupid.
Oh, absolutely
Pride?
stupid.
Give me a break. This isn't 1980. We have to think about 2025 sensibilities here. I would make this triple threat a number one contenders match. I have Punk win, and Punk beats Cody in night two. That's what I do.
All right. I am going to give you an alternative scenario.
Sure.
But with the same outcome. I believe Cody should be facing CM Punk in the main event. Bang, simple. That to me should be the match. That is the match that feels like they were building to since midway through last year. Since basically, well, actually, it feels like they were building to it from when Punk returned. It feels like they've been building to Punk being in a title match at WrestleMania in the main event. That's been the Punk storyline. He has never had his main event, but he also wants the title. So to me, he beat Drew McIntyre. He beat Seth Rollins. I think he should have won the Elimination Chamber, and he comes out of Elimination Chamber as the number one contender. That's what I would have done. That's what I thought they were going to do. That's what I think they should have done. And I would just go straight out and have him in the match from the beginning. No triple threat number one contender match. I'd have him in there right up front.
I'm good with that. Because I think, all right, can I give an alternative then?
Yeah.
May I? Not an alternative, but may I piggyback that? Because I had I had an amazing idea then for the other two guys. And I said this like during the Rumble. I was actually sitting at Dr. G's house. We were watching the Rumble from Indy. If you're going to take Punk out of the triple threat and put him just directly in the main event with Cody, I make the last match of night one just Roman and Seth alone inside Hell in a Cell.
Ooh. And you can play off the whole Seth cost Roman the title.
Yep.
And so this is his revenge from 12 months. This is Roman's revenge from 12 months later.
Yep. And then the beat down at the Rumble when he threw his face when he slammed him and he curb stomped, or when he, stomped him on the steps.
Yep. Let me throw an alternative. I think that's great. And I think that's the better option.
Yep.
Let me throw this out as an alternative.
Sure.
And I'm not trying to swap for the sake of swap's sake.
No, that's okay.
But we take Cena out of that. You want Cena in something prominent, but we don't believe he should be in that title match. What if you inserted him into that triple threat? Because you've also got the fact that Cena interfered in the match 12 months earlier. Cena was also involved in costing Roman the title match. And this is where I think you could have some fun with it. This comes into what you might do with it. Cena enters WrestleMania as the babyface. Seth Rollins is our heel, and Roman is Roman. Roman is the OTC. The OTC. He's got the crowd behind him. You still play up this storyline. The favor is that Heyman is going to manage Punk for the title match, which basically means he doesn't have the time to help manage Roman on the first night. So Heyman is not going to be at ringside in this triple threat. And then you can bring the Rock element into it. The Rock element being that the Rock can be talking about, you could have interviews with him, you're my tribal chief. You can still play up. I'm the final boss. You were my tribal chief and you lost the title. But these two guys cost us the belt. And so almost like Rock is making this match. He's saying this is the match we've got to have because this is all because of these guys that Cody's got the belt. And yes, Punk's in there, and there's nothing I can do about that now. But and even make it. And this will be the number one contender. The winner of this match is going to face the winner of the Cody Punk match at SummerSlam. Straight out, he announces it up front. And then during the match, Cena turns with the help of The Rock and beats and it's The Rock that helps Cena beat Rollins and Reigns on night one.
Okay.
It's just a thought. I'd like to hear if you had another thought for Punk, for Cena, because I do like Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins in Hell in a Cell. I think it's the ultimate. You've brought their story full circle. He cost in the match. This is the ultimate revenge, and this is almost like the end of their story. Like you said, Reigns is still angry. He said it in his interviews. It's because of you. You ended the Shield. You were the reason that all happened. I found my bloodline. I lent into my bloodline, and you're not part of that. And you cost me the shot last year. I think that Hell in a Cell match would be fantastic. What would you do with Cena if you're going to keep your Hell in a Cell match?
Yeah. Let me think. Look at the rest of the card.
Because I like Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest. I actually think that's been well built.
Yeah, I think that match will be fun too. I think that match will be fun. I don't want to get rid of that either. I almost said, but I think that'd be I don't like this idea either. I almost was going to have him against Braun, but I like that triple threat actually. I don't know if I would do that. How about him and Taker? No, I'm just kidding. No, we don't need that. We don't need that. Shit. Damn it. I don't want to lose because I think Jacob Fatu is beating LA Knight. I don't think there's any doubt. I think Fatu is going to win that belt.
To stay there too.
Yeah, he's going to win that match, and he's going to go on a mega heel. He's going to destroy guys. It's Jacob Fatu. He deserves it.
What about with the injury to Owens, the Cena face Orton one last time?
I was just thinking about that, and I think everybody would. In a funny way, Dave. I was thinking about that. I'm thinking everybody's going to fucking hate that. But at the same time, but you know what, Dave? At the same time, let's think about it for a minute. Every time Orton and Cena have faced each other, they were in different stages of their careers. In the beginning, when they wrestled in like 07, 08, 09, they were both kind of in their young prime as young, bloodthirsty beasts that were the kings of this kingdom. Then in like 2013, 2014, they were kind of in their prime, but sort of in the back end, more established, more experienced. Now you've got two guys that are destined for the Hall of Fame, both different, both wrestling different. One guy retiring at the end of the year, another guy probably starting to think about it. And I think you give them 15 minutes. You don't give them, fucking a half an hour like you used to. And see what they do now at a different stage of their career. And then you could kind of layer it that way. And then, WWE Vault could put thousands of their matches on it or whatever. Because there are some, did I see it on, where did I see it? Was it on NoSo? No, where did I see it? Somebody ranked. Where was that? Somebody ranked all the Cena Orton matches. I think it was the pay-per-views. Somebody ranked all the Cena Orton pay-per-view matches. I think number one was the match at SummerSlam 07, which is actually pretty good. Or maybe it was 09. No, it was 07. But you know what I'm saying? Like, Yes, I get it. We've seen Cena Orton like 400 times. But if you think about it, they kind of peaked in the peaks of the feuds were in different stages of their careers. When they first really hooked up in 07, 08, 09, they were young, bloodthirsty, young beasts ready to run the company. Then you go back to like 2013, 2014, they were the main event. They were at the top of the food chain. Now, it's almost like you're right, like the epilogue, the final chapter, the epilogue, the last time. You keep both of them in a nice little match. Nobody has to poop their pants about it. It's like nestled in the card. And B, you'll never have to see it again. And C, it gives both of them a payday. It keeps Cena's kind of retirement tour going. Because I feel like if this is Cena's, because really, from a common sense perspective, Dave, how do you not have Cena's last year in the company, or last year as an active competitor? And if Edge isn't here, who would be the other guy you would want to have him face, because that was another guy that they made each other.
Yeah.
How do you not have him wrestle Orton one more time?
I agree. Destiny. I agree. I think, like you said, it can be just, do we have to have another one? Is WrestleMania the place for it? Or do you have that scheduled for like his last match, the end of the run, like Survivor Series? That's the question you've got to ask. I think the dilemma you run into is you had a storyline build for Owens and Orton, and I would have, if Owens wasn't hurt, you would want to keep that match on the card. And so then you've still got a problem of, what do you do with Cena? And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, you wouldn't get to 2 weeks out from Mania and Cena and Orton don't have a match, and then you put them together. And that's the difficulty that lies into it. I tell you a match that would have been fun for Cena. Might have been Drew McIntyre. And I know I said I like Drew and Damian Priest, but if you started building this from Royal Rumble, Drew or even out of the Elimination Chamber, with Cena beating Drew at the Elimination Chamber, I think you could really get a good storyline out of Drew and Cena, and I think you could get a good match.
Yeah. No, I agree. But I also agree with you that I don't know if I would. Right now, that's a good. We don't want to bust up too much good creative just to give Cena something to do. So I don't think I would bust up the match with Damian Priest either. What about? I wouldn't do Cena Rock. Everybody will really fucking hate that.
Cena against Solo.
Yeah, because they had some issues. They were part of that whole thing. How about this? Now, I thought about this with I talked about this with Dr. G, and I think he said he read something somewhere because this person's having surgery. But if he was healthy, you'd have to put this match last on night one, though. How about him and Stone Cold?
Oh. Yeah.
We never got to see Austin and Hogan. Now you put Austin in the Hogan role and Cena in the Austin role from 20 years earlier.
Yeah, what do you do with that though? Like the danger you run with that, because of the status that Stone Cold has with the fan base.
He'd have to win.
Well, not only that, you put Cena in the ring against him. You've turned the crowd. You've turned the crowd on Cena, and I know they've turned him heel, but unless you're entering him into that match as a heel, this retirement tour, I thought it was going to be a babyface run the whole way.
Well, that's what I thought, which is why I'm pissed off at this match with Cody to begin with. But
yeah,
all right,
but the irony is the crowd had finally taken to Cena, like he's returned with the like he was getting the positive responses at both Rumble and at Elimination Chamber. It was the crowd are behind him. Like he could pretty well do whatever he wants and the crowd would cheer him unless you put him in a match against Stone Cold, and then the crowd will turn on him. And that would be my fear.
Right.
And I wonder if in the end the best option for Cena be come back to putting him in the ring with Reigns and Rollins, and you make that number one contender winner gets a shot at WrestleMania. At SummerSlam.
So the winner of the triple threat sits at ringside the next night, looking at who they face at MetLife on Sunday, because it'll be the second night on Sunday, August 3rd.
Yeah.
Interesting. I only feel like, to be honest, Dave, and I'm okay with that. It's fine. I feel like I want Cena. I'm not in debate of Cena being in this on this card. I know we're kind of going. It's just a very main eventish interview, main eventish discussion, which is fine actually. But when we talk about this later this week on Main Event, we won't get into fantasy booking Cena. We'll just bitch that the match we don't want it. It's very different. Dave and I are actually trying to create something. It's very different. But I don't like him in a match with like this. I don't want him in a title thing. That's bothering me. I don't know why. That's bothering me. Listen. I get it. We're looking for high-end entertainment. I totally get it, and I like your thinking for that reason. I want Cena in his own thing. I don't want him involved in any of this title shit. The current roster needs to do that. That's just me.
What about this then? He faces Logan Paul. Then you can use Logan Paul's TV show to help promote this as well.
I thought about that.
And you've got two guys that can talk. And Logan Paul can take the loss because he's not full time.
He doesn't care.
Yeah. No, that's it. And then you've got Cena and the profile of Logan Paul and utilizing the TV show makes it high profile.
Or put Logan somewhere else. Stick him in make it a 5-way for the IC belt. And do Cena AJ.
Oh, that'd be a great match. It'd be a great match.
Because Cena was the guy that got AJ in the door, if you think about it. And their battles for the title in 2015, 2016, 2017 were pretty damn good.
Yeah. That could work. Might not have the same profile, but it would work.
How about Cena and Bruno? Oh wait, sorry. Now I'm tangling up universes.
I've got the perfect way to keep Cena babyface. And put him against the legend. He can face Hogan. Because
I just thought of that. But then Hogan could come in wearing the beard T-shirt. And everybody will boo him again.
That's it.
But no, let's focus in. I don't mind. I like your triple threat idea. Doesn't bother me because I know he's not going to win. So I'm okay with that. That's fine. Or would he? All right. You know what? I'll be okay. I guess for me, the point of WrestleMania here, I want Punk to walk out as champion. Maybe that's just my personal thing. That's just me. I want Punk to walk out as champion.
Absolutely.
So I can handle Cena in a triple threat for the number one contender with Seth and Roman if we don't do the cell. And then if you have Cena and Punk one last time at SummerSlam and Punk wins.
Yep.
I'll sign up for that.
Yep. I think that works.
Okay. I would sign up for that. And then Cody, then you can finally have Cody Rock and we can shut the fuck up about that match. Yeah. You know what I mean?
They can face each other at SummerSlam
They can face each other at SummerSlam and then we don't have to deal with that anymore. And Nick and Ari could be in the corner eating sushi together. I don't know what the hell they'll do. I don't really care.
Yeah.
But you could do that then. Then we don't have to listen to that crap anymore. Then we can get that match off our plate. Never have to listen to that again. Yeah. So, all right. I'll sign up for that, Dave. You as long as you can confirm for me that Cena doesn't win another belt, because I want to keep him tied with Flair. I don't want him passing Flair.
Yeah.
That's my personal thing. All right, I'm okay with that then. But my other option, so our two options would be Cena, Seth, and Roman in a triple threat number one contender for SummerSlam.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Rock Cody at SummerSlam. Or we have Seth and Roman Hell in a Cell, and we put Cena against AJ. I like your idea, actually, of keeping Orton till the last match.
Yeah.
I actually like that idea. And at Survivor Series, unless he actually does want to do calendar and we do it at the last pay-per-view in December, which would be stupid. You might as well do it at one of
Isn't
the
the last pay-per-view in December supposed to be in Boston? Isn't it in his hometown?
Oh, I think you're right.
So
would you do it there?
I think he does it there. Yeah, I think they'll have it there.
All right. So if you do that, then you do Cena Orton at that show, the last match.
Yeah.
And you put Cena AJ at Mania if you want to keep Seth and Roman in their own match.
Yeah.
I prefer that. However,
okay,
I will sign up for your theory, your booking, if it gets us Punk and Cena at SummerSlam and Punk wins, and then we can get Rock and Cody and we don't have to talk about that match anymore.
Yeah.
So I'll sign up for your booking as long as Cena doesn't win anything.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay.
All right. Okay. What else needs to be changed? I've got a big one. I've got one. It's driving me nuts. I think they've absolutely stuffed the women's division big time. This whole crap they've done with Rhea Ripley winning the title, losing the title, in the match, out of the match, has been utter ridiculousness.
Yeah,
Rhea,
I agree.
Rhea, I'm just going to say here, I know I may be a little bit biased because she's Australian, but I don't think I am. Rhea is the face of the women's division now. Straight and simple. She is one of the most over superstars in the company, let alone as a woman, as everyone. Like, you listen to the reaction when she comes out. She is over like almost no one else is. There's only probably Punk, Orton, Punk, Cody, and Roman could probably argue they are more over than Rhea Ripley. Not argue that they're clearly more over than Rhea, but I would say Rhea could probably, the argument could be made, she is the fourth most over person on the roster. She should be in a singles match for the women's title. That's just, she should not have lost it. I don't care who she faces, but that's what should have happened. Rhea should be going into this match as the champion, and not in a triple threat match. That looks like stupid booking. What I would have done, and I guess this is where I wouldn't have Bianca Belair in this match, because what I think they could have done here is I think they could have had Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez and another partner of their choosing against Jade, Naomi, and Bianca Belair. Because the whole idea was they created this idea that Liv had been the one who attacked Jade Cargill. So you can run that to Mania. And at Mania, in a 6-woman match, Naomi and Bianca turn on Jade. And you can build that storyline out after Mania. And that gives Liv Morgan a much more prominent match than this crappy tag team title match she's in. It keeps your Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, Naomi storyline brewing till Mania, and it gives Rhea Ripley a singles match that she should have as the face of the women's division. Now, who she should face, I'm not sure. Does she face Io Sky? Maybe. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Does she face Charlotte? Charlotte should never have won the Royal Rumble. I'll just say that now. But why is Charlotte wanting to face Tiffany Stratton? Like, when the moment they made that match, I mean, I knew they were going to do something else with Rhea, but if Charlotte's supposed to be the queen, why the hell is she not gunning for Rhea Ripley? Which we've seen twice already, and I understand that.
Right.
I think they should have considered either bringing Becky back or doing something hot. You know, you could have done something. You brought Trish in for a couple of matches. You could have done something high profile for Charlotte with like Trish Stratus. That could have been an interesting match, like the generational passing of the torch thing. And you know, you've got Rhea. You've got to find someone who can. And that's the sad thing. The reality is there's no one at Rhea's level.
No. I agree with you on that. It's almost to the point now where the women's division is almost an overabundance of riches.
I've got an idea for you for Rhea. Let me ask you, what do you think of the Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez tag partner of their choice versus Jade, Naomi, and Bianca, and that's where you can do all your heel turn stuff?
That's fine.
You like that
Sure.
idea?
Yeah, I do.
All right, let me give you an idea that's just come to me for Rhea. And I say it only because we know there is a working agreement in place. Why does she have to face someone from the WWE? Why not bring in Tony Storm from TNA?
Well, Tony Storm's in AEW.
Oh, not Tony Storm. Who's it in TNA?
Well,
who's the women's champion TNA again?
Masha Slamovich.
Is that who it is?
Yeah, it's Masha Slamovich.
But why not
Jordan Grace is already Jordan Grace. What about Jordan Grace?
Jordan Grace in. That's who I was thinking. Really, that's
Jordan Grace. She's in NXT. She's wrestling. Yeah. She's in the women's match against Stephanie Vaquer and all the others.
Get her out of NXT. You could have built Jordan Grace from the Royal Rumble. She had a great showing in the Royal. That's who I meant, Jordan Grace. That's what I was trying to think of. You've been building. She had a great showing in the Royal Rumble. Build her from there, and she can face. You can find a way. She could win the Elimination Chamber and then face Rhea Ripley for the title. I think that would have been a better option.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I'm okay with that. There's obviously a reason. It's not an accident that TNA Unbreakable is Thursday night too. Now, I said on main event, and maybe my opinion will change when we talk later in the week. When we do not later in the week. When you hear it, I may have talked about it when we record it. Here I am doing the looking glass of my life. When you hear
breaking down the fourth wall.
Exactly. Geez, we're doing inside baseball here. We'll see what happens when you hear, if you're listening to this on Wednesday when it drops, this show, when you hear tomorrow the Mania weekend preview on main event. Because I had said the last couple of episodes of main event that I don't know if I would put any TNA people in the big show. I would definitely see Masha Slamovich in a match at NXT Stand and Deliver on Saturday afternoon. That I have no problem with. Would I put him on a big weekend? But would I graduate Jordan Grace to the big show? Absolutely. I love Jordan Grace. Yeah. Yeah. Think Michelle McCool's still in shape? She's going in that weekend.
Start a new streak.
Yeah, I know. Who else is in TNA?
No, I was thinking of Jordan Grace, not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, that's
Masha Slamovich. I could see Masha Slamovich showing up at something at Stand and Deliver, not at WrestleMania. She's not at that level.
No, I think
Jordan
you could
Grace
have.
is, though.
Yeah, Jordan Grace could have been put straight on the main roster and could have been built to a match with Rhea at WrestleMania. I think it would have been a great match, great opportunity to do something and really get some eyes on the women. It's someone new.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Right now, the problem with the women's division right now is just it's an over. It's like kind of Tony Khan with other things on his roster. It's just an overabundance to the point where there's just not enough room for anybody to do anything.
And that's it. And they've done a great job, which is why I think you could, if you do that with like that six, Jade, Naomi, and Bianca, and you hold off the heel turn until Mania, then that allows you to maybe do something else with Bayley. Have Bayley and Io go at it, or from their previous connections. You can tie some stuff there and make it make sense rather than Bayley and Lyra Valkyrie. That just doesn't ring WrestleMania match. Like that's a put together tag team at the last minute. That's
I agree.
Look, Liv Morgan deserves a match at WrestleMania, 100%. And having her and Raquel as, if they're not going to be she's done the stint with Rhea. The only other thing I think you could have considered putting Liv Morgan against Tiffany Stratton. That would have been interesting because it keeps her at the top of the card. But Liv Morgan needs to be at the WrestleMania card. She has earned it. But like you said, there's so many options. I mean, you look at some of the other women that aren't on this show, who've had big years, and you think to yourself, they really are, they're an overabundance of options, and it's good for them. It's a shame we don't have an overabundance of options on the men's side of the draw.
Right. I got to tell you something, though, Dave. You've gotten me. I mean, I was kind of already into this match to begin with, but now the way we've been talking, I'm actually kind of looking a lot forward to Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre. I kind of hope they beat the crap out of each other.
I think it's going to be this. I think it could really steal the show. Like I think it has the potential to be the best match of that second night easily. AJ and Logan Paul will be a spot fest. Yeah. But I think you look at the other matches. I think Damian Priest, Drew McIntyre is going to steal the show on the second night. I think they're going to have a great match.
Yeah, they're totally going to steal the show. I agree 100%. Yeah.
Would you keep? Are you going to keep Jay with Gunther?
Yeah. Oh, totally. I want Jay to win.
Yes.
Jay has to win. Jay has to win.
So let me throw this out. I agree. I think Jay has to win. I think the story's built to that spot. And it'll be interesting to see how they play the story, the family story, if Jay is the champ and Roman is not.
Yes.
And whether Roman acknowledges Jay's win, not acknowledges him as the tribal chief, but whether he acknowledges the win. I think that creates for an interesting element to the story. So,
yes, I agree.
All right.
I agree.
Yep. If you look at the rest of the card, I think the New Day need to be in that tag title match. They've done so much to rebuild the New Day as this heel team. They need to be there, and I have no issue with them in the tag team title match. I think that's great. But does Rey Mysterio need to be wrestling Chad Gable under a hood?
No. Not really.
and let me put this out to you. Why not? You've just brought Penta in. Why not have Rey and Penta have a babyface Mexican lucha style match to put Penta over and not have Penta in the IC title match? Penta doesn't need to be in that IC title match.
No. I mean, he's being rushed. because they want to get Penta over. That's why they got him in the match.
But how over would he be if he beats Ray clean? Ray's a legend.
Right.
I think because I can't see Penta winning the IC title. I see the IC title match going one of two ways. Either Bron retains it and demolishes everyone, or I would love to see it, Dominic wins with the help of the rest of
Judgment Day.
Judgment Day. Judgment Day help him and kick Finn Balor out at the same time. So Judgment Day run in, attack everyone, and Dominic gets the win because of assistance, and Finn is kicked out of basically Dominic pins Finn, and Bron's not even a part of the
decision.
fall.
So it protects
He
Bron.
loses. That's exactly right. And Dominic comes out with the title, and Finn is out of the Judgment Day. I think that's it. That to me are the only two options, which means Penta doesn't need to be in the match. And you could have Penta and Ray face each other at Mania. I think that would be you could have Penta win clean, Ray shake his hand, Ray raise him, acknowledge him to the crowd, and then you've got Penta over. I think it gets Penta over bigger than having him lose in the IC title match.
Yeah, I agree. I could go with that. Yeah, I could go with that. The only reason they have Penta in that is because they feel like they need to get him in something hot because he's Penta. But I like your idea better. We can work. Penta could get into title chases in due time. There's time for that.
Yeah. So the only person we haven't really.
Sorry, go. Sorry, go ahead. No, I was gonna say I agree with that. Go ahead.
All right, so that brings us back to the only person that, if with what we've ended up doing with Cena, the only person we don't have on the card is Randy Orton. And obviously, we would have had that build with Kevin going, and Kevin is out. So I guess we can almost. Where do we see Orton going? What do we do with Orton? If we've got AJ facing Cena, Orton can face Logan Paul.
That would be great. Learning tree.
Yeah,
I could do that.
Like Logan mouthing off at him, and Orton basically saying, "It's an RK out of nowhere. I'm going to kick your head off."
Yeah, I could see that. Because you got to put Orton on the card. You got to give him a shot.
Yeah.
You got to give him a payday. You don't sit him out just because Owens got hurt. Where's Sammy in all this? Did I miss him?
Sammy hasn't wrestled since the Owens match.
Okay.
I've heard that he's basically recovering from niggly injuries. Like it was sort of announced coming out of it was the news coming out of that match against Owens was that Sammy was basically going to have some time off and heal up. Although I don't know why they wouldn't have wanted to have had him on Mania and why he wouldn't have wanted to be on Mania.
Right.
I'm sure he wants to be on the card. And you could have, and maybe we'll still see him tied in with Jay's match against Gunther. We may see an appearance by Sammy still, but that's been the story for Sammy who got left off the card. And Jimmy's not on the card either.
That is weird. He might just be in his brother's corner.
Yeah, I think
I'm sure he'll come out. He'll come out and be in his brother's corner for the Gunther match, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree totally. So
would you lead towards Jay? Because we need a number one contender for the other belt heading towards SummerSlam. Do you do Jay and Roman?
After WrestleMania?
And maybe not Roman being a heel.
I don't think you can go down that path. We've done Jay and Roman. unless you are going to turn Roman full-fledged heel again, which I don't think they intend to at this point in time.
No, I don't think so either.
I think you have that reluctant acknowledgement. You're almost like, yep, good on you, good on you. I knew you could do it. I anointed you as the main event, and you've finally done it. And Jay going, yes, you could almost picture the statement. Yes, you did anoint me the main event. Thank you so much, my tribal chief. You just have that little statement where they both acknowledge each other without having to sort of put a hierarchy to it.
Right, that's true.
And then Jimmy hugs them both. Oh, is it so happy?
Because I feel like Solo Sikoa is going to end up getting pushed out eventually. Because I think this new bloodline, it's all about Jacob. He's the best. He's a freaking lunatic, and everybody loves him. And I think he's going to demolish. I think he's going to demolish. And I love LA Knight, but he's going to get absolutely demolished. It's my opinion.
I wonder if the direction is to maybe try and build Jacob to face Roman at SummerSlam.
I would sign up for that.
Or WrestleMania next year. I think they've got to have I think they've got a bit of a long-term. I think they really see Jacob as the long-term thing, and it'll be interesting to see how Solo fits into this storyline moving forward. It'll be interesting to see where that goes.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
All right, so this is sort of what I think we've come up with as a bit of a partial rebook to this weekend. We've got Cody and Punk for the title on night 2. Let's go night 1. Night 1, our main event. We've ended up with Roman and Seth in the Hell in the Cell match. We've still got Gunther and Jay. Unfortunately, we don't seem to have touched Tiffany and Charlotte, and probably because we don't have any other options.
No, I think that's fine.
Yeah. LA Knight and Jacob Fatu are going to face each other. I think what I would do is I would probably move. I would probably put Io Sky and Bailey on night 1, and we've got Rey Mysterio and Penta. And we've got the War Raiders versus New Day still. So there's your night 1. Then on night 2, we've got Logan Paul versus Randy Orton, AJ Styles versus John Cena. We have a 6-woman tag match, Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, and any partner they choose versus Jade Cargill, Naomi, and Bianca Belair, with knowing that that's where Bianca and Naomi are going to turn on Jade Cargill, because I think that's where the longer term storyline is going. I think Bianca is going to be behind what Naomi did. We've got Braun Breaker versus Finn Balor versus Dominic for the IC title. We've brought it down to a triple threat. Damian Priest versus Drew McIntyre. Rhea Ripley versus Jordan Grace for the women's title, and Cody Rhodes versus CM Punk for the world title.
I like it. I think it's better.
Absolutely.
I'll be honest with you, I think it's better. And then Jordan Grace gets her pub in that one. So you have Jordan Grace come out as a heel?
I don't think. I think the crowd would be part. I think this is the sort of match where I think the crowd would probably, they're going to be behind Rhea. Like I said, Rhea's over. I think you could put Jordan in the match. They'll still cheer her. I don't think they would turn on Jordan completely, but I think Rhea would have to come away with the win. And then they can do the shake hand thing. They can do another shake hands thing after it. And,
sure.
Sort of give a bit of a hug, and it's sort of like the acknowledgement that Jordan belongs on the main roster.
Yes. Yep. And then we have more women. And I'm telling you, I am saying it here, and I've already talked about it multiple times, and we'll get more into it on main event this week. My big hot take: Tiffany beats Charlotte.
I don't think it's that big a hot take. I think I'd have to agree with you. I think with where things have gone over the last few weeks, I would not at all be surprised if that's the outcome. I think Triple H is known to recognize where things are leaning, and the crowd do not want Charlotte as champion. And I think you're right. I think Tiffany's going to get the win. It might not be a clean win.
No, probably not.
But I think Tiffany's coming out of the night with the belt. So, yeah, I think you're right.
Good. I feel better about that. I'm glad you agree with me. All right. Well, this was a good one. Very meaty. We got into a good philosophical discussion, Dave. We almost main evented it. You may have to come on sometime. We hope you enjoyed this, everybody. We hope you enjoyed our rebookings of a couple of old school manias and then maybe a little discussion on this year's. You can find Dave all over the place. He's, of course, comes around our pages. Hit us up. What do you think of our bookings? Let us know in the comments underneath if you see this, of course, on our Podbean or if you see it on the Facebook page. Let us know. What do you think of our WrestleMania 2? I actually like our WrestleMania 2. I'm not going to lie. I really like our WrestleMania 2. Join us in May for something. We don't know yet. Not sure. But we'll come up with something fun. We'll come up with something good that I think you will enjoy for the month of May. We haven't honored anybody. Anybody passed away lately? Listen to me. Anybody died lately? No. It's just usually May or June. Dave and I do a great obituary episodes. We'll figure something out. But we'll figure something out. We'll have a great episode. Don't worry about it. We'll figure something out. Anyway, thank you again as always. Keep here with the PTB Wrestling Network and over on the No So, as we will give you all of your WrestleMania week coverage. Including, of course, our big main event WrestleMania preview and all the stuff that the guys are doing over on the No So. Dave, always a pleasure. Be well, sir. Happy Easter to everybody if you observe. Happy Passover for our Jewish listeners. And be safe if you're going to Vegas, including my PTB brethren. I know a good hunk is going, as we always do. And we will see you in May through the looking glass.